Hey, what do you want to do this weekend?
Well, I wanted to talk about therapy.
Oh, okay. Well, what's up?
I feel like our sessions are really lopsided.
I mean, we've only had two sessions. What are you talking about?
I know, but we spend so much time talking about my stuff, and I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing. So I'd really like to start talking about the things that you've done that have really upset me over the years.
All right. Like what?
I often feel dismissed. Like, I know you have triggers, but it doesn't give you the right to be mean to me all the time.
When am I even mean to you?
You know how much I love the show, The Affair. But then I'd stopped watching it because you were getting triggered. So mid-season, I don't even know how the story ends.
Are you seriously wanting to talk about this show, the TV show, The Affair, as opposed to your actual affair in therapy?
As usual, everything about us does not have to go back to The Affair or my stuff. Like, what about your stuff? You're not perfect.
I never said I was, but your betrayal has affected everything in our life.
Everything? Now you're using absolute terms. I don't appreciate that.
You don't have to appreciate about it, but I'm not going to be talking about a TV show in therapy.
I guess my feelings don't matter in this relationship. As usual. Surprise.
Goes nowhere.
So let's break this down. This power differential, common for those at the beginning of their healing journey, and it's accurate. A lot of therapy time will be to address the issues and impact around the betrayal.
Yeah, a common image that we use that you might hear is if I came into the ER with a gunshot wound and diabetes, both could kill me, but obviously they're going to target one first, which would be the gunshot wound. So we have to think of this when you're going to therapy. There may be some other issues in the relationship that need to get addressed, but we have to address the betrayal first. So every partner is going to understand that. And what I found is if we don't address those things right off the bat, then it's going to be, the partner will keep looking to be heard and have those, the betrayal addressed before we can actually get to anything else anyway. So a lot of betrayers don't understand this. So I'm going to speak to the betrayer for a second. You may not think that you wielded power in your relationship, but you did. So if you held lies, you deceived your partner, you were deceptive, gaslighting, if you held all these secrets, you wielded power. Just like the common saying, if knowledge is power, you were wielding power for maybe months, years, decades. So it may feel very much like it is lopsided in recovery, because it is in some ways. But that's not it's lopsided because we're going to rebalance the power. And to do that, we have to give the partner agency, the partner choice. So it may feel lopsided at first, but that's why we have to address the betrayal, the rupture first in order so we can get to, rebalancing the relationship eventually. But if we never do that, the power will always stay imbalanced.
Absolutely. And with it being lopsided, because even as we saw in the role play, the betrayer will often be like, well, what about you? Right? It's not all about me. But the thing with that is, even though these issues were there, the betrayed partner didn't violate the safety of the relationship. So without the safety, being recalibrated in the relationship, we can't do anything, which is what you're speaking to. Like, we're going to keep going back to the impact of the betrayal. So it's not safe to even venture off into anything else if we don't deal with the foundation of the relationship.
Yeah. And it's kind of like when you ever have an experience where you were hurt by somebody, and this may not even be the big thing of betrayal, but your hope someone gives you an apology for something that they did, and there's a but at the end. Yes, I did this. But for me, when I hear that, you can basically erase anything before the but. In a similar way, if the partner feels like, yeah, you know what, I'm taking full responsibility. I did this. I really hurt you. I betrayed you. But you did these things that were kind of led me down this road or in some ways affected this. You can basically say, take out any of the acknowledgement of the betrayal. It's basically worthless, in my opinion. So That's where we keep these things cycling over and over and over again. And it takes time, right?
Absolutely. Which leads to the question of always like, well, when does it balance out? And it's exactly what you just said, time and consistency. And with time and consistency, then safety starts to be rebuilt. And it's kind of like, you're making deposits in the bank, but it takes a while before you start seeing some interest that's above 2 cents. Like, it's going to take a while. And many times people want to see, want to get that interest quick. We just started couples therapy. They're already trying to get the interest. And it's like, well, no, you just got here.
Right.
Like the behavior was going on for a while. And not that this is going to take the same amount of time as the acting out behavior did, but it is going to take some time. So if you think this is moving slow, then you probably need to move slower.
And to your point, I mean, you say it may not take as much time as, how long were you actively, betraying or an active addiction? It may not take as much time in active recovery to balance out. But I've heard many partners say that, like, how long were you, deceiving me?
Yeah.
Was it 25 years? You can't give me 2 therapy sessions before you're starting to look at my problem. Like, you got to give me a lot of time because you were betraying me for this long. So you have to be able to stand in there, and there's no grand gestures that do it. It's consistency. It's consistent, trustworthy actions over time that build trust. It doesn't just happen, and it's not going to be because I said so or because I feel differently.
As we saw in the role play, it's like everything's not about the betrayal, but the betrayal is not even just about sex, right? It has so many legs, and it grows out into so many areas. The betrayal will help the betrayed partner, why certain things weren't making sense during the relationship, or why were they always thinking something was wrong with them, like all the gaslighting that happened. The impact of the betrayal, it just signals so many things. Possibly there was emotional abuse. If there's betrayal, then you were lying at some point. The impact of this person could show up in my face and lie to me on a daily basis for years. And this is someone who I trusted with everything. That definitely does the trauma of that on a betrayed partner. So we can't just pigeonhole it into just the intimate betrayal.
Right. And even with the small things, I mean, this is where I find the battleground. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but, trustworthiness and being, saying what you're going to do and then following through with it may seem like a little, not that big of a deal. Like, hey, I'm sober, which is huge, by the way. I'm sober. But if I'm continuing to lie to you about little things, or I'm not following my agreements or boundaries, that's a big deal. So these are the bigger, relationship dynamics that show up, and that takes time. That we can't just repair this in a little bit of time. So it could be other patterns of, avoidance in the relationship, that there are bigger patterns potentially to address, but betrayal and addressing this always has to be at forefront before we can actually look at any other patterns in the relationship.
And with that, lots of times you'll hear partners and betrayers say, I just want to go back to how it used to be, how it was. But the truth of that, if we're really looking at it, that relationship dynamic wasn't working.
Yeah.
Like what the partner signed up for is not what they got. The betrayer wasn't being honest. And many times you talk to partners and they talk about feeling alone during the relationship, that they were isolated, everything was on them, they were overwhelmed, they thought something was wrong with them. Meanwhile, the betrayer is having these unhealthy coping strategies. So that old relationship, when people say to me, they want to, rebuild, I'm kind of like, can we just build something new?
Yeah.
Let's trash that one. Throw it out.
Back.
We don't want it.
We can't go back. There's no way to go back.
No,
Plus,
exactly.
You can't now that there's all this other information out, like there's no way we can go back to that. But I do agree we can build something new. I guess speaking of which, what do we do then? What are the ways to move forward? So we have this impasse where the betrayer has maybe legitimate, maybe they are grievances that need to get addressed, and yet we still have the betrayal. Now what?
Yeah, and I like how you said legitimate, because that's where the cognitive distortions come in, right?
Right.
Like,
and they might be, but they might be.
They might be. And many times, especially in the beginning of treatment, and I see it with couples all the time, where just like in the role play, like, when are we going to get to your stuff? And I'll explain to them, like, because you're in active addiction and betrayal of your partner, like on a constant basis, many times we'll tell ourselves things so that way we can rationalize and justify the betrayal. So if you're telling yourself, your partner never listens to you, and so therefore I need to go with this person outside the relationship because they listen to me. Okay, maybe they weren't listening to you. It's very possible. But how often were you making attempts to connect with them, or making attempts that weren't sexual? Or, my partner, I don't know, doesn't hold my hand and, I feel alone. Well, how often has your betrayed partner been feeling alone?
Right.
Like, how much have you been sending a message that they're receiving as, I don't think they even like me? Like we don't know and that's where the cognitive distortions come in. The cognitive distortions are so narrow, they don't take in the whole picture
Right.
of what's happening. And that's another reason why we don't really want to get into those things in the beginning of treatment, because the betrayer needs individual treatment to really sift through what is actually real, what was my role in this whole thing, and what is the thing that I really want to bring to my partner. It's usually not you that made me stop watching a TV show mid-season.
Right.
Like that's not what it is.
And something to be really talking about those cognitive distortions, usually what they do is they make me, if I'm using the distortions, it's going to make me the victim in the story. So
Yes.
be very mindful. Every partner's going to see this. They're going to say, oh yeah, so you're the victim here. If I'm doing these things, usually it's going to be, that's a big red flag for me to be aware of. So if you're listening to this and you are the betrayer, notice, do you tend to go into, I'm the victim in the story? That's something to bring to your team, right? That you have to do. That's part of what active recovery is. And, if you look at if someone's working the 12 steps, that's part of step 4 is looking from, hey, where I show up as the victim. And then now I learn how to take responsibility. What's my part? So that's the first part that we have to do, is take responsibility for what was ours to own. Then after that, there may be a point, later on where we can address dynamics. But if I haven't fully taken responsibility for what's mine to own, instead of kind of shifting things where I'm the victim, you're going to stay stuck, and couples can cycle in this way for a long time. And that could be really devastating.
Yeah, because it could also serve as a distraction. If I'm constantly like, okay, how am I the victim? Now we're tending to this person being the victim. Meanwhile, the betrayed partner's been traumatized. And now we're trying to coddle the person that did the violating. Like it's kind of, it make anybody, sorry, not a therapeutic word, but crazy making for anyone. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is it's difficult to be in the hot seat. Nobody wants to be in the hot seat, but that's what it is. You put yourself in the hot seat, and thankfully you're willing to come to therapy and deal with the fact that you put yourself in the hot seat, which is very commendable, because not everyone would do that. But if you're making that choice, then you kind of have to accept that you're making that choice and get cozy in that hot seat. Because the quicker that you can accept it, the more we can get to the real work and not be talking about these distortions that may or may not actually hold any weight.
Which paradoxically, right? It's leaning into it. It's accepting that this is the case. It's taking responsibility. That actually does move things faster than if I'm trying to fight it. Because how long does this take? I mean, the 3 to 5 years thing gets thrown out a lot, but I've seen it go even way longer than that if someone's not really willing to own their part. I mean, that's the hard part, right? Like it can go fast or it can go really slow, and a lot of it depends on how much the betrayer can take responsibility and own it. That said, okay, so now what? So when is it time for let's say there is let's say legitimate, not just with air quotes, legitimate grievance. When is it time for the betrayer to bring that stuff up? And they just wait perpetually and sit forever with it? Or when's the time?
Well, there's also things you think about, right? Like, is it time sensitive, right? Are we going on a trip, and every time we go on trips, my partner tends to get into their family and I feel isolated. So that if we're going on a trip in 2 weeks, that's time sensitive. We're going to have to talk about that, because those things can also trigger someone's relapse. It can trigger to a relapse if someone is not feeling safe on their own too. But this is why you have your team, right?
Yeah.
You have your individual, your sponsor, your accountability, whoever it is that you talk to, your group, to be like, okay, how do I go about talking about this? Because if you've been doing the work, and we're going to assume that you have at this point, because if you have not been doing the work, then we kind of can't even go into this conversation. So you need to be doing the work. So you have your support team around you. How do you communicate about this in a way where I'm not making myself the victim and not gaslighting my partner? And then really developing that language on how to communicate. And in doing that, that involves, stating your feelings, like what's actually going on, recognizing your role in the situation, which we talked about. Because if, in that same analogy, if I'm feeling isolated because my partner always goes off with their family when we go on holiday trips, did I just go to my room and stay there? Or did I make active attempts to be included and then they shut me out? Because then it's two different stories, right? If I just feel isolated and just go about my business, the betrayed partner might think, oh, they don't want to be involved. So let them have their space. So, and that's really the difference between cognitive distortion versus the real issue. If you're making attempts and you get shut off, then we can talk about that. But if you're not making attempts, okay, then what was your role in this? Like, are you really being isolated or are you isolating yourself?
Right. Yeah. And a couple, I think, really important things you said that I want to reiterate that number one, is this urgent right now? So time sensitive may be urgent, maybe not, but bring it to your team, bring it to the people that you trust. Is this something I need to bring up right now or not? Is this immediate? Is it about safety? And am I in a place to own my part of it? And I love what you said. Like, am I actually taking responsibility for it? Am I, what's my part in it? Did I do something to create this scenario? And is it me positioning myself as the victim? And is it now? Maybe this isn't the time to do it. I generally find, get wisdom from your therapist, coach, sponsor, your team, the support people. So definitely, lean on your people. But I guess I do think, ultimately, is balance possible? Is it always perpetual? The betrayer's in a one down position and partner's always in a one up position. I don't think so. I think ultimately that's not our goal. Our goal is to build healthy relationships back. It takes time, but definitely after consistency, after trustworthiness over time, that happens. But make sure, lean on your recovery team, both, for partners and betrayers. Make sure you lean on your recovery team, because we want to make sure this builds towards health and safety and, ultimately a healthy rebalance, not just a quick fix.
And on top of that, many times betrayed partners don't even want it to be lopsided. More often than not, they want to know what their part and their role is. But then sometimes, especially in these early stages, it's just too early to get into it because we can't really have a productive conversation about it. So it's important for the betrayers to know that this one down, one up position is not really enjoyable for anyone.
Right.
As Dan said, just lean on your recovery, your support system, and it just help you get through these early stages of healing so you can just stay focused. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this talk on cognitive distortions was helpful to you. Please be sure to subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay updated on new episodes. And if there are any other topics you'd like us to tackle, be sure to put those in the comments below. And as always, remember to embrace your healing journey. Every step forward brings a new hope for tomorrow. See you next time.